So what we're going to be looking at now is congruent triangles. So congruent triangles mean that they're equal in some sense of the word. Okay, so if we look up here, okay, triangles with the same, it's going to be shape and size. What? That's not right. So that means all corresponding parts. So the angles and the sides of the triangles are what we're going to look at. So when you come down here to this part here, when triangles are congruent, we can write a congruency statement. So the congruency statement would be this thing over here. Okay. So that's how you write it. And notice that the sign in the middle is like an equal sign with a squiggly on top. All right. And then if you look over here at your two triangles, you can see that the angles of everything line up, match up. It's all the same. Now what you'll have to look at, and sometimes they try to trick you with this stuff, is you have to look at the number of lines. So if you look here, side AB has 1, right? Now if you look at the other triangle, you might think that this here would be the same, right? Just because of the way they're set up. Yeah. Not necessarily the case, because this has the 1. So you have to pay attention to what matches what when you're writing the statements, because if you look, A is in the same spot as D. Okay. So that's how you look at your angles. So A should match D. B should match E. And then C should match F. Okay. So CP, CTC. You're not going to have to remember that. But it's how you look at congruent triangles. So corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So basically all that's saying is what we just said above. So the same side, so the sides that are the same are congruent.
What is that? Triangle?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Where did I put those paper? Is that paper up there the same? We just started here. Yeah. Need a pencil? So now, if you see a congruency statement like this one down here, like I talked about with you earlier, you don't even have to see the triangles to be able to figure out what is going to be equal. So if we're looking here at the angles, right? So if we're looking at the angles, J is going to be equal to what? P. Good. So it's going to be J, angle J is congruent to angle P. And you just work your way down the line. K would be congruent to Q. And L would be congruent to R.
So what is the size?
So then when you look at the sides, that's a good question. Same process. So J and K would be the same as what? Good. So you have JK is congruent to PQ. Now you do the next one.
So K and L?
Yep. So you'd have K and L are the same as what? Good.
So then what do you do? Like L and J?
Yes. Yep, good. So then you'd have J, L, congruent to P and R. And if you need to, you can draw those triangles, but you don't necessarily have to. We're not going to write the other congruency statement, so we'll slide over here to 2 once you guys are ready. Okay, so what would be our angles?
W, E.
And one way you can do it, if you have to do the charts like this, you can just do W, X, Y, congruent, congruent, and then write the other triangle up and down. And that'll work. And then those are angles. So then if you were to do the sides, what would our sides be?
W, X.
Mm-hmm.
X, Y.
Mm-hmm.
Y, W. E, F, F, G, T, P.
Yep. Good. That's a squiggly line. Okay. I'll come down here to the bottom.
So will we put A first or C first?
Or which one?
Or number A?
So you're gonna go with the letter that corresponds with the first one there.
So A.
So it would be A. Good. Because what you have here, you have KM. So we find K and M, and then you're gonna look over at the other side. What's in the same place? A and C. Then you go to the next one. CY would be the same as what? But backwards. MP. Good. So PK, so middle first would go with YA. So I personally think that it's easier if you just look at the way that it's written. Some people like to look at the actual triangle and figure it out. So based on what they have here, KM is the same as AC. CY is the same as MP. This one's the same as this one. Then you could look at it that way to help figure out the angles if you wanted to. I just think it's easier to work up here, personally. So if you're looking at the second column, angle Y would be the same as P. K would be the same as, and now they're naming the angle a different way.
So it'd be K and P.
You said K, so A, C, Y.
So K and P, right?
K, M, P. Yep. Good. Now on the last one, they're just naming the triangle different. So they named it backwards for the first one, MPK. So you, good. Okay, and then YAC would be what? Good. Okay, those of you that are at home, just let me see those notes. And then tomorrow we will do the back page.